First of all, our animals are not house trained, so we need a little ground cover to protect them. It's funny that you talk about Chimney Rock because my husband built a climbing structure there with his company called the Bean
got another reptile hand, but I'm going to field questions in the meantime. Yes?
I was just curious whether there's been any discussion of, as we have global warming increasing, we had a speaker who talked about the fact that certain plants required a certain animal, like an ant, to help them migrate, and the ants move slowly so that they can. Is there a sense that the snakes will start moving north as the climate gets warmer, or is it not the temperature but other things that keeps them imported north?
So the food source is kind of one of the main things. Since they're so varied, the potential to move north is absolutely there. But with such low numbers being restricted mainly to Florida and Georgia, it's really hard to tell, and it's hard for them to try because most of the time, once they start moving to a new area, they're not familiar with it, and then get in trouble, and then the population is still receded back to those southern parts of the state. They are predominantly warmer species, which is why you find them in Georgia, and then originally, more into Georgia, Florida, and then even some parts of Texas. So there was some overlap between the two species.
But we are seeing some species that are moving north, like armadillos. We never used to see armadillos, and now we're getting them in rehab. So.
Are they pretty much overlapping with the tortoises because of the burrow issue?
Yeah.
Do they live in other burrows?
They can live in other burrows, just that since they're just a larger snake, they kind of go for a larger den, which is, a gopher tortoise den can be pretty big, especially if they're flexile, like they can get when they're adults. You ready to take another question?
We can't release them when they have, she actually was a dog attack, which is very common for turtles. We can't release them without one of their back legs, because that's what they use to dig their nests. So she wouldn't be able to be successful as a wild turtle. But the way you can tell the difference between males and females is their eye color. She's got brown, and they're just sort of overall a duller color. And the males are much brighter orange. They have red eyes also. And most people know that the shell of male has a convex, concave, so that they're able to mount the females, and that's another way to tell the difference. And box turtles, like snakes, are ectotherms. So that means that they can't produce their own body heat. So that's why you often see them in the road, snakes too, in the road or out on rocks basking. That's how they often get injured as well. They will get hit by cars. And box turtles are omnivores. So they really we give them as treats earthworms. It's one of their favorite things to eat. But they'll eat all sorts of veggies and fruits as well. Any questions about that?
Alright, well then we'll just move back on to the next. How about
She is over 20 years, and they can live to be 40.
No, we don't know. She never told us.
Very common, actually. And, yeah, they can be kind of restricted, and usually they'll burrow, like in the summer, they maybe burrow down in the cooler, but in the winter, they'll come out in the sun and whatnot. It's just how they control their temperature.
Can you talk to them about the GPS?
Oh, yeah. Turtles, if we put one in a row, you always want to put it in the direction it's going, because they know where they're going. They have sort of an internal GPS, and if you move them somewhere where they're not going, they're just going to go right back where they were going. They know, and they have sort of a home range. So it's very important for us to really have them in town, because if we just put them in a different place, they're going to try to go back to where they know. And no one really knows exactly how they're able to do that. There's
Quick story, which I think probably relates to that, is a good young friend of mine who's in college in Australia. He's very much a naturalist. They had gotten a little bitty box turtle that had showed up. And they put it in there, kept it at their house for a while, got it fed, everything else, and it got grown up. And so, big enough to do his own thing. So they took him about a quarter mile down the road. People had a farm down there. They took him down there. A few weeks later, there it was on the timeline station. It's the glass door of the house. That's what he knew, and that's what he grew up with.
Oh, that's funny. My sister and I were traveling across the West, and we came across a box turtle. And we picked it up off the road, and we thought, we got to get it away from here because this is dangerous. So she had this dog named Meatball. And Meatball would take care of all these little animals that we would bring her. Maybe you had an experience like that too. But so we put the turtle on the floor of the car with Meatball, and Meatball licked it and took care of it. And then we found a very remote spot 2 states away and let the turtle go in the remote area, and we thought we were doing such great things. I think that turtle is probably still trying to get home today. Okay, so hi there, wake up. So this is not a white rat. Does anybody recognize this animal? It's a white squirrel. Has anybody heard of the white squirrels of Brevard? This is one of those white squirrels. Come on up, Thunder. Whoa, yes. There you go. His favorite food is Turkish pistachio nuts. So it's also my favorite food. So I like to share the good stuff with him. So Thunder, actually, that's his name, and he's a white squirrel. And does anybody know the story of the white squirrels of Brevard? Well, there were some people that moved up there, and they were involved in some kind of a circus down in Florida, which there's a population of white squirrels down there. And so they moved up to Brevard, and they had brought 2 white squirrels with them, and they put them in a cage. They built a nice cage for them, and one of them got away. And they felt so bad for the other one because it was lonely. They're very social animals. They felt so bad for him that they released him, and they thought, well, they'd be, breed with each other, and they'd be together for the rest of their lives. Well, lo and behold, they started breeding with the wild population. These are just Leucistic gray squirrels. So these are, Leucistic means albino, but it's partial albino. So if you look at him, a little show off. If you look, oh, there we go. If you look at him, he's got a gray spot on his head. Do you see that? He's also got the dark eyes of a regular squirrel. If he was albino, he would have pink eyes and he'd be totally white. So this is a leucistic animal. And so they breed with the gray squirrels, and you would think that they wouldn't be very successful because they don't camouflage. So that factor is taken away unless it's wintertime and snowy. But, they have been prolific, and they've survived very well. And not only are they in Brevard, but they're in Etowah, and they're in Hendersonville, and all sorts of areas. They're just expanding their range all the time. So beautiful animals. And squirrels are, they're interesting animals. They're in the rodent family, of course, and they've got very powerful jaws. I would rather get bitten by a great horned owl than I would a squirrel any day, because their jaws are so powerful, they'll bite you right to the bone. And that's what, they also, have you been bitten by a squirrel before? Yes, you understand. So they've got very powerful jaws, but they also have teeth that grow throughout their entire lives. And so they have to keep those teeth trimmed down, or they'll have teeth growing through the roof of their mouth. And we've seen that with squirrels that have fallen and they've hit their jaw or hit their face and their teeth are misaligned. And once they're misaligned, they can't really keep them ground down because they use both teeth to actually line up perfectly. And then they also have to have things to grind down on, like we use deer antler for them, and then they can keep, or hard nuts, they can use that. So he does eat that pine. Look at him.
Was the gene for being white dominant maybe, and that's why they're...
It's called a recessive gene. It's called a leucistic or an albinistic recessive gene is what they say. And I don't know why that is, but that's that's the term. They are? Are they what?
Are the squirrels nearsighted? Because they're always running out in front of cars on the road.
Well, squirrels tend to do that.
Ma'am, I had a white squirrel show up in my yard in Columbus.
Uh-huh.
And the gray squirrels just harassed it and just were cruel and mean and drove it away and it never came back. Oh, gosh, this is so sweet.
Racism in the squirrel population. Yeah. Probably that was more related to it not being a resident in that area. So if it had grown up with the local squirrels, they probably wouldn't have had that attitude about him. No, they breed. A mother will have, if she breeds with a white squirrel and she has babies, she'll have a couple of grays and a couple of whites. I mean, so it's really interesting. There's a White Squirrel Institute in Hendersonville, and they actually study the population pretty closely. So, but Thunder fell out of a tree when he was a youngster and he hit his head. And so he was a slow baby and just kind of loopy and had brain damage. And so we said, he's not going to be releasable. And over about a time of a year, he probably kept improving. But by that time, he was so tame, he doesn't have any kind of fear response of a normal squirrel. He has possession response over his nuts. Now, if we have to give him a nut, he'll bite. So we always have to be careful. We're not going to handle him unless he's going to be with his nuts for a while without us, right? So squirrels are interesting in that they usually, a mother squirrel will keep 2 different nests at a time. She may have a cavity nest in a hole in a tree, and then she'll have what's called a dray. Drays are the nests that they build up in the trees made of sticks and leaves and moss and all sorts of things, but they look like these just giant balls of leaves, and that's what they make their nest in. So if you chop down a tree and some baby squirrels, fall out of the tree and you don't know what to do, sometimes you can put them in a box near the tree where it was, and the mother will, and then just back away and then watch for a while. And the mother most times will come back and get them and relocate them to another nest that she knows. So, that's not a dead-end street if they don't have their nest anymore. So, anything you guys want to add about him? He does have a shorter tail because he got stepped on one time when he was running around a room. And so Thunder, even though he has he's a loner, he really just likes people, but his caging is situated on a second story. So he's got an indoor cage and a little tunnel going out to the outdoor cage, and then so we can keep his food defrosted and his water defrosted in the wintertime, and then he can go outside. He's got floating logs to run around, and he also has a dirt floor that he can bury his nuts and do all the normal squirrely things that he likes to do. We really have a lot of fun with Thunder. Yes?
I have one story of the house in Transylvania County and lots of white squirrels, and we feed them on a platform feeder outside. And with regard to your story about the gray ones chasing, they are fearless. They're not in the least reticent. They'll chase the gray ones and they'll chase each other.
Huh.
And you'd think that being that color, they would not be so bold.
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that. We find that they're a little more mild-mannered. If we get an injured white squirrel in, they're not quite as feisty as the grays, because the grays will defend themselves more than the whites. I don't know what that is, but they seem to be a little more mild-mannered when we have them. But maybe in the wild, you might be noticing more that because they're white, and you can see them chasing other, but that's a good question.
I watch them on the feeder.
Yeah,
I mean, they're the defenders.
they're the ones that take command.
They'll ride off faster than the
I don't know. Yes?
Do non-releasable squirrels like that, do they get vaccines? Do you give them vaccines?
Nope. No. There's, you know, they're not a rabies vector species, and, you know, anytime you get bitten, and we all get bitten. So anytime we get bit, we make sure that we write out an incident report and we wash our hands really well. You know, I don't think we've ever had anything that required stitches.
Like West Nile kind of vaccines?
Not from squirrels, no.
Well, that begs the question of a lot of these pictures, people are handling animals without any gloves.
Right.
The raptors, obviously, but I looked at those talons and she was handling them.
With bare hands,
Bare hands.
right? There's kind of two schools of thought. When we're teaching new students to handle the raptors, we definitely have them, they've got gloves on. And because a big red-tailed hawk or great horned owls can squeeze 800 pounds per square inch. You know, so they can pretty much, yeah, they can do a lot of damage. So, but, you know, a great horned owl that I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of them, and they're a little bit slower than other owls, you know, so they just kind of, they're all, I don't want to say they're all talk, but they're slower. You know, they look at you with their big eyes, they rock back and forth, they put their wings out. I don't know if you've ever seen one like that, but they perform, and then as soon as you throw a towel over them, they're like, okay, you know. And then you grab their legs, and if you know how they move and you know how to work with them, a lot of times Dr. Amber, when she first came, she never used gloves, even with eagles. And so I was like, you're kidding me, you know.
What about diseases that animals in the wild may have that you handle?
That's always something that we need to consider. You know, there are zoonotic diseases, but many of the diseases that the animals can get, we don't get. We can get their parasites, certain diseases we can get, but especially birds, a lot of the diseases that they can have, like avian pox is one, and that's contagious throughout the bird population. They can give it to each other, but they can't give it to humans. So some of those diseases we don't have to worry about. Okay. All right.
This is one of my favorite animals that we have, because he is so darn cute. Does anyone know what kind of owl this is? Screech owl, yeah. They're eastern screech owls. They're actually really common. We know every day. We say they have three phases. They're all the same species, so there's red, and then there's gray, and there's also a brown phase. And that color, that just talks about their coloring, and they use that for camouflage, standing up against the bark, trying to blend in. You don't often see them because they are so small, and nocturnal, of course, so they're out at night, as most people aren't. But this guy, his name is Oz. He's kind of an old, grumpy man. He's 10 years old, which is sort of a middle age for screech owls. And you can see on the top of his head here, those are what are called ear tufts. And they'll use those also as camouflage. They'll sort of stick them up when they're trying to blend in, helps them blend in to the bark. But that is not actually their ears. They've got sort of special pit ears that are asymmetrical. So one is higher and one's a little lower. And they'll do what's called triangulation. They'll move their head around when they're trying to blend in. And that helps them hone in on that is
Screech Owl Sound.
I'll do it.
Your house all the time, but
I don't know which one it is. Thank you.
That's how big your eyes but they have such Story, that's why he's with us. He's been with us one of the longest Screech Owls we've had. He's very used to doing presentations. He's just always talking about it. Any other questions about the Screech Owl?
I have something. A Screech Owl Sound. Does anybody recognize it when they hear it? It's kind of a whinny sound. It goes hee, hee. They also have a sound that they do is called. Anybody hear that at night? Thank you. But when he's talking, he just carries on. Can you get him to talk? He usually talks when he's up there.
Take him out. He likes to talk.
Did he do it?
No.
Oh. Darn.
I used to be afraid of the Screech Owl noise when I was a kid. It was scary to me.
That's because your mother told you they sounded like ghosts.
That's the mother.
Now they're better. Now I love them.
Okay. Nate, can I have a chair, please? I need a chair. This one I have to hold. Do we have a towel? He usually... Right? Woody woodpecker, but this is willow woodpecker. Thank you. She sometimes has an accident on me. Hi, baby girl. Well, she doesn't do very well on a glove or a perch because she has problems with her feet. She had foot fractures and she had a wing fracture that couldn't be repaired properly for her to fly. So she lives with us. That's her kind of baby begging, that's what when we feed a baby pileated woodpecker, we actually use a soft tube on a syringe and then they take the tube down their throat, just as if the mother was feeding them, they take it down deep. But pileated woodpeckers are wonderful woodpeckers unless they're beating away at your house. Has anybody here had that problem? Okay, so you understand. But you have to ask the question, if a pileated woodpecker is beating on your house, do you have insects in your house? That's one thing that they're looking for. The other thing that they might be looking for is a prime nesting site. So when they're pounding on a tree, they're pounding and then they listen. And then they're pounding and they're listening. And so the one thing that they're listening for, of course, is insects. That's food. And so if they hear insects, bam, 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 they'll make a nice big hole. And then they reach in with their long tongues. So this gal has a tongue that goes inside her mouth, around the back of her skull, and around her eye. Isn't that amazing? So when we have baby pileated woodpeckers or any other type of woodpecker, they've got a tongue shaft on the top of their head. And so before their feathers fully, feather out, then we can actually see them move their tongue on the top of their head. So it's really cool. So her favorite food is waxwing. So what I'm going to try to do is see if she'll stick her long tongue out and reach for the waxwing. Oh, it's so quiet in here now. I know, Willow. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, okay, you can have that one. Okay, yeah, you can have that one. Next one's not free, though. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Get it. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh. She's got a long neck. Come on. Come on. I know, you want it. Come on. Come on. Oh well, I guess we'll have to give that one up. Sometimes she reaches her long tongue out, and it's really kind of fun. So pileated woodpeckers, when they're flying, they've got an interesting flight. They don't just kind of fly across the sky. They pump. Boom, 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 boom. And it's really fun to watch. You can really identify them when they're flying. And big old wood hens is what they call them. And so what else can we say about woodpeckers? I know you've got great stuff on woodpeckers.
The pileated woodpecker is actually the largest woodpecker in the world. It was rivaled by the ivory-billed woodpecker, but it's now extinct unless there's, you know, a couple in Cuba, which we don't really know yet.
So they're not in Arkansas like they thought?
I don't think so. I'm hopeful. I love them, but I'm not positive.
Aren't there feeding holes? There's a difference between the nesting hole and the feeding hole.
Yeah, one above the other.
One's round and one's sort of.
It's a triangle, that's right. It kind of matches the head when their crest is sticking out. It seems like the woodpeckers that we get are more from the Hendersonville area. We've gotten more woodpeckers from that area than any other area, the pileateds anyway. We get lots of other types of woodpeckers from all over, but these guys are pretty concentrated down in that area. So,
what's native to this area?
We've got.
go ahead.
We've got the pileated woodpecker, the hairy downy, which look very similar, except for the hairy is larger in size. It's got a longer beak. We have the red belly. And you might get the occasional red-headed woodpecker. It's closer to the South Carolina line, because that's generally where they are. But you could get them. Birds are kind of. They have a set, but you always have to transition about. Oh, yes.
Yeah. And the northern flicker, did you talk about that? Yeah. See, this is fun, isn't it? Yeah. So any other questions about the woodpecker?
Would they attach to the young yet?
Would they what?
Attach their young yet?
Gosh, not really, I don't think, but soon.
They're working on that.
Yeah. We usually we see them, they're kind of early nesters though. When we see babies, we see them in May. And then we don't see them for the rest of the summer unless they're just young birds. So, did you have a question?
Football, is there any structural?
Yes, there is. And I have trouble describing it. Can you describe it?
No.
It's almost like shock absorber in their brain, and they don't get injured from impact. We actually have a pileated woodpecker with a head injury. So I don't know if it's their shock absorber is more related to their beak and their pounding rather than them hitting their head on a window or hitting their head on the side of a house, because we just got one and her head is like this. You know, she can't stop moving it because she's got so much trauma. And so it's not to say that woodpeckers, you know, are foolproof from, hey.
Knows where to get food from you, Mama.
Yeah, she does. They're very intense birds, as you can see. She's not necessarily scared. She just wants food, and she's just intense.
What are you feeding her?
These are waxworms. And all the birds like these more because they're higher fat content and they're juicy. And they just, we'll feed them mealworms, but these are kind of expensive, so they're kind of a treat. So this encourages her to want to come out and do programs. Come on, stick your tongue out, young lady. Come on.
Where do you get them?
We buy them. We get them from Nature's Way, which is an insect company up in Ohio. And we get all our mice and rats from a place called the Big Cheese Rodent Factory out of Fort Worth, Texas. Okay, should we move on to the next one? All right.
Why do they?
Because of the sound of it, that's a metallic sound, but it also could be, a hollow sound. So what's?
declaring a territory?
You know, I don't know how much they are because she's always calling and then they're always calling back. So, you know, she's got friends in the neighborhood, I think. Good job. Wait, I'm losing my thing. She wants to come back out. Yeah. She doesn't want to go away.
I have a question for you, Pam.
Yeah.
So the animals that came through were weak.
Oh, gosh, no. Probably 40% of those have to be euthanized. 40% of our total population. We probably have a 60% to 70% success rate, which is fairly high according populations bringing them back. So I don't know if you notice his long toes, his long talons, and his long feet. These are birds that eat other birds, and so this is one of the characteristics that they have in order to wrap their talons around another bird. And so these birds, when they catch their prey, they can dive up to 240 miles per hour. They're the fastest animal on the planet, and they actually will land on them in midair, boom, and break their backs, and then they fly down and get them, and then they can eat them. But they also have a little tooth on the side of their beak that they can use to either break their necks or slice into them. So they use that little tooth. It's interesting to try to trim a beak of a peregrine falcon or trim a beak of a red tail, because they tend not to trim them out in the wild, so we have to cope their beaks and cut their nails, and because they don't really need these sharp talons, and they can hurt a new learner when we've got students working with them. So we tend to cut their nails a little bit so they're not so long. His are kind of overgrown, but he's a pretty good guy.
The weight of a peregrine versus this bird that was crossbred?
You know, we had a peregrine falcon before. He weighed about 750 grams, and this one weighs probably 800 grams. So it's really not that different than the one we had before, but we had one in rehab that weighed 980 grams, and so that bird was very large.
You talk about the success of the falcon. My mom has a apartment in Manhattan on Central Park South, and I remember we were upstairs on the roof, 60 floors up, whatever, and there, and I'm walking around, and there in the corner was this big falcon.
Perched?
Perched.
Oh my gosh.
Right on one of these stanchions, and I guess they eat the pigeons. I guess they have a lot of...
That's fantastic.
I think they're successful there as well.
That's fantastic. Okay. Any other questions about him? All right. You ready to go back? No. He likes people. So the final thing that we have is just a little slideshow to kind of give you the behind the scenes a little more with some music. So it's about 3 minutes long. And then, oh, now you're going to say something. He says, "Where's my check?" Yeah. Can you dim the lights at all? Yeah. Okay. I think so. I think so. Resume. Those are wrens. That was in our backyard. Common nighthawk. That's a barred owl. Don't they look alike? Okay.